Hi, welcome to JJ's Productions. We're here with another Stoke City Vlogcast, and as always, it's Jan. How are you doing?
I'm okay. Hope you're all okay, folks, and glad to be back with another game.
Well, once again, the international break sort of broke up our mojo. I don't know about the team. I mean, I've enjoyed hearing about the England results. We've not got a Sky Sports subscription at the moment, so we did miss the games, but we saw the highlights. But I'm glad that we actually got those two results, even the USA one, because I actually rate some of the players in the US team. So, it was a nice little pair of results for England. I don't know what you thought.
Yeah, I thought it was a good result, and the team we got together, I thought it was interesting.
I mean, obviously the Croatia result was the more important. You know, we're in the Nations League semi-final.
Yeah.
But I actually appreciated that USA win just for, like you say, giving some of the younger players a chance, and some of the, maybe, like Lewis Dunk, isn't necessarily young, but he's a debutant.
Yeah.
So, I'm very pleased for those players who did get a chance that day, and I'm hoping some of them will get a chance to impress in the future, like Jadon Sancho, for instance.
Well, you know me, I like the youngsters playing. They're our future.
Yeah.
You know, in football. So I believe they do have to have a chance, and they played well.
It's where my irritations rise, in the sense that I hear some people say about the Stoke City Academy that, you know, we're never going... Well, it's the idea of, you know, there are players in there who aren't ready, they'll never be good enough. And I think, well, how will you know unless we give them a shot?
Exactly. I mean, I always said that Ollie Shenton should have had a chance way earlier than this.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's needing a chance now. I mean, we're already off on a tangent here, I'll admit, but Ollie's been doing well in the youth academy, in the youth setup this season.
Yeah.
And there's got to be a point when he's banging on the door of Gary Rowett and saying, come on, at least give me a go.
Yeah, even if it's only on the bench and he comes on for the last 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I just think it'd, spur him on, really.
Yeah, it's where I really hope that at some point a change is made in the philosophy at Stoke, because there's just too many youth players who aren't getting a chance. And you look at the England team and you think that is the reward for giving youth a go. And you just hope some more clubs, not just Stoke, but a few more in general, will try and heed this message that's coming from the England team.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've got to look at more Rashford and how he's come on. I mean, for England, I think he plays brilliant. At the minute, not so good for United. But for England, I think he's a really good asset to the team.
I've mentioned this before, but I only started understanding football in 2006. And there was one player I knew walking into football, and that was David Beckham. And at that point, I sort of believed he was more of an England player than a club player. You know, he was like Mr. England to me back then, whereas maybe the others were, he obviously played for United and Real Madrid, but, Beckham for me was Mr. England. And I'm sort of glad there's a lot more players like that. Like Harry Kane, he isn't just Tottenham's number 9, he's England's number 9 as well. And, it's just nice to see a few of those breaking through like that.
I think another one is Lingard, funny enough. I think he's proud to wear the England shirt.
Yeah, I completely agree there. I think a lot of people don't like him with the dancing and all that lot, but I actually just think he's very carefree, and he just sort of expresses that when he scores and whatnot. So I don't really mind what he does as long as he plays well. So
yeah, and like I said, Rashford, he's proud to play for England, and you can see it on his face.
Yeah. But, we talked a few minutes about England, but, I've got to admit it's always relevant when you look at their youth approach to the club football approach, because there's such a disparity at the moment that really the club football needs to up its game a bit with youth football. But we're just going to move on, because we are talking about the news of the international break, and some Stoke players have been involved, namely Ashley Williams and Joe Allen have been involved for Wales. And... well, let's just say Ashley Williams hasn't gotten on the right side of the bed with Cardiff fans.
Wonka.
I might have misquoted him, but I think he called them mongs or something, and he tried to pass it off by saying, oh no, I was talking about this guy, and he's this Cardiff guy. And I'm like, yeah, you don't really get away with that.
No.
So you might have tried to brush it off, but I don't think that one's...
When are our players going to learn to keep the big mouth shut? That's what I want to know.
I don't know. I mean, to be honest, I think half of them need locking in a room, to be honest, and only bringing it on match day. But that's another opinion.
Yeah.
Just moving back to Stoke for a second, because obviously we've just been talking about youth football and the Stoke under-21s, I believe. It might be the under-23s. They've been drawn to play Port Vale in the Checkatrade Trophy. And I know there's a few people who are excited for it, a few people who are a bit like, what's the point, it's a Checkatrade Trophy. But I'm actually excited. I mean, like I've said, I've only really been into football as such since 2006, so I've never seen a Potters derby. I imagine you're on the opposite end, though.
It doesn't matter to me. They play in the Vale, who are our local rivals, and I'm excited about it.
I mean, I'll admit, I thought you wouldn't be on that side for the simple reason. I know you never used to like the derbies for the fact that there was a bit of ooh-ah around the supporters.
You know, what I won't say what I want to say, but, you know,
Yeah.
There's always been that excitement about them when they played.
Yeah.
But a good scrap after, you know, and what can I say?
Well, you'd like to think that the Vale fans are going to go in knowing that if they beat us, then we're just going to say, congratulations, you beat our youth team. If we win, it's a case of, haha, our youth team beat you. So whichever way, the Vale fans must walk in knowing they aren't going to come out of this situation looking good. So you'd like to think there won't be any violence unless they just want to have a scrap.
Joshua, you don't know them.
Oh, well, saying that, I don't know half the Stokies, so let's just say
Vale
that
could win 10-0 and they'd still cause a scrap. And Stoke will be there to give their pennyworth as well, so
yeah.
It's just a rivalry and people will be looking for it.
Well, that's in the future for now at least. Just some other little tidbits. Charlie Adams apparently looking to have a loan move back to Scotland in January.
Bye, Charlie.
Yeah, thanks for your service, but you're not exactly wanted right now, unfortunately. And Tom Ince is expecting to be fit for the Derby game, if not the QPR game. So let's just, before we get on to QPR, let's just talk about the game before against Nottingham Forest. What did you think?
I thought it was a good result, saying we lost to them in the League Cup.
Yeah, I mean, I think Forest are a good side, and I think this is something that has been really underrated by a lot of the critics of Rowett, that, you know, it's like, oh God, we aren't scoring goals, we're boring, blah, blah, blah. We have played some tough teams in this run. I mean, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, we've had Sheffield United, Bristol City, we've had Nottingham Forest, we've had Middlesbrough. You know, going into a lot of them games, I thought, you know, if we can avoid a loss, we've done well. And we have actually remained unbeaten during that period. So, yes, it has been goalless for the most part, but I don't think we've done that bad.
No, our Jack kept a clean sheet, so what can you say?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking, we've kept clean sheets against Borough, Forest, and we've had a clean sheet at Bristol City as well.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's pretty good on paper. I know that people will be saying, but where are the goals? But I always think to myself, defending is the important bit. If you aren't keeping clean sheets, it doesn't matter how many goals you score at the other end because you're going to concede more at the back.
Yeah.
So focus on defending and then you can work on that foundation.
Exactly.
Now, this is the point where he has got to work on it. He's got to find the right balance between keeping the clean sheets and going forward. But I'd like to think that with the QPR game coming up, that can be the starting point. It might not be. I don't want everyone suddenly getting into a panic if suddenly it's a 0-0 or something like that. But I do think we're on the right track.
Well, I tell you, if he plays Juve again, I'm getting Juve off because I've had enough now.
I mean, on the game here, I picked Juve on the left wing, McClaren on the right, and apparently McClaren played well on the right wing, but I think Juve just had one of his
off games.
It wasn't. I don't think he was actually off per se. I think he was just not doing much again, which I think is sort of like, well, he does the defensive work all right. It's just that offensively he doesn't do much. So it's like, well, you aren't playing with 10 when you're defending, but it is a bit like that when you're attacking. So I don't know.
When he can learn to pass a ball, cross a ball, and score a goal, then I'll start liking him.
Hopefully it'll be this weekend if he plays.
He better not play.
But yeah, it's a very interesting player, Juve, in that sense. You know, he's obviously rated by 3 managers. You know, even even though I think Lambert would have liked to have got someone else in to, take his spot up front at the end of his spell, I think even he thought, you know what, he's worth keeping in. It's better than, putting Crouch up on his own or even Tyrese Campbell,
Yeah. Okay, move on.
All right. Well, we're on your stats. So what have you got for us ahead of the QPR game?
Right, well, they've got quite good stats, actually. They've won 8, drawn 2. Okay, the losses are 7, but they're still in 10th position, which, I think is quite good for QPR.
I might be mistaken, but I'm fairly certain a number of those losses were at the start of the season as well.
They were. I think it was the first 5 games.
So they've really got a run of form going.
I mean, the worst one was against West Brom when they lost 7-1.
Yeah, I remember that day. That was awkward just watching the West Brom side of it because you thought, God, they're scoring a lot.
Yeah, you kept thinking, my God, there's going to be another and another.
Oh, yeah.
So, it's good how they've pulled themselves together, to be honest. Now, the top goal scorers, there's 3 on 3. That's Eze, Freeman, and go on.
I'm not sure I can say this correctly. It was Oliak. But yeah, I've got to admit, it's quite interesting how they've spread the goals out a little bit. It does say that they aren't necessarily getting it from one source.
Yeah, and we've got to be really tight at the back on Saturday. Really tight, because any one of them 3 can let loose and score.
I mean, I find it quite interesting looking at that because I remember that West Brom game, and it was a bad day for QPR, that even as much a good day as it was for West Brom. And I remember, I think it was a day or 2 after, they made 2 signings. They bought in Naki Wells from Burnley on loan, and they bought in Toma Headed, I think his name is. No, Toma Hemed from Brighton. And I'm sure the next game they won because they got them 2 up front, or at least they got them involved, and it was like a focal point in the attack.
Yeah.
And it just makes me wonder if, they've got a formula going that started with them, but maybe other players are now chipping in either around them or because of them, or, if they just sparked the revival, essentially. It's quite interesting.
And unfortunately, Stoke, I'm still going to come up with Stoke stats. Aphobia's still on 4. And Ince is still on 3.
I'll let Ince off for not playing.
Yeah, but with a phobia, it's been a while since he's scored now, so he could do with getting his little foot in action and scoring goals again. He was close against Notts Forest.
The way I'm looking at it is, I have to agree to an extent with what some Stoke supporters are saying online, that he needs more support. I'm not necessarily calling for Bojan, I'm not calling against him either, but what I'm suggesting is that we need to find a way to get more players around him. I'm not convinced Berahino is the player to be around him. No. I think it could be someone, I'm saying Bojan, in the sense it could be Bojan, or even Ince in that little number 10 spot.
Yeah.
Just the idea of people who can, take a bit of pressure off of Phobia and say, right, you go run that way and I'll occupy these guys.
Yeah.
They need someone to just be up there with him so that Phobia can do his little work.
Well, personally, I'm hoping that Bojan starts and Ince.
It would be nice. I'm not convinced it will, but the Ince part is down to fitness. His words were that he'd come back on one leg if he had to play against Derby. Whereas I think the QPR one is it's probably a good chance, but then again, they might think, shall we save him for Derby?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So that's why I'm hedging my bets.
But with Bojan, I think he can cross, he can get in the middle and get the ball in the box.
Yeah.
Which is something that Juve isn't doing.
No.
And I just think that Bojan ought to have a start from the start of the match.
I know I'm not going to be popular for saying this, but there's a little bit of me that I'd start McClaren in this game. Only because, and I don't know how else to explain this, QPR seems to be like a team I can imagine him scoring against. It's like, you say to me, James McClean scored against Hull City. I go, yeah, I can believe that. Even I know that did happen, but it's like I can believe it would happen.
Yeah.
And QPR just sort of seemed one of those teams that he'd sort of wake up in the morning and go, I fancy myself today.
Yeah.
I know that is completely against any logical reasoning, tactical reasoning, or anything like that, but...
Poppygate is now over.
Yeah.
So there's none of that going on anymore.
I think that is another reason. I mean, it's not necessarily the reason I'm going for, but it is another possible reason he could be included, and that, there's no off-field issues as such to deter him. And by all accounts, he didn't have a bad game against Nottingham Forest. He contributed.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't surprise me if he kept his place, just to essentially say, right, let's see if we can get you going, because he hasn't got going at all.
Yeah, yeah. As I say, there's a few options, and as long as Juve isn't one of them, Mother is going to be happy. Okay? I don't know how you feel, folks, but I know I'm always on against Juve, and I can't help it. I just think he's a waste of space. And again, as I always say, my opinion, and I'm entitled to it.
Well, just coming on to QPR a minute, because, we'll just preview them as a club for a moment. I am actually surprised how well they're doing. Not necessarily because I've got anything overly against QPR, but I think there's a lot of things going against them at the start of the season. First of all, getting Steve McClaren in as manager. I mean, I've said it in the vlog before and I'll repeat it, that I'm disappointed if a Stoke City side doesn't beat a Steve McClaren managed side.
Yeah.
So if you're listening, QPR fans, and the result goes your way on Saturday, you will probably hear a very grumpy Josh next vlog. So, you might want to gloat next time. Because I just don't rate McClaren. He's done jobs here and there, like at FC Twente, and I think he did well at Derby. But I just don't rate him around those jobs. It's like he flopped at Nottingham Forest, flopped at Newcastle, flopped at Wolfsburg. And it's sort of like, well, and I'm not even touching England. So it's like,
Yeah,
as soon as he walked in that door, I couldn't help but think, things are going to go bad.
Yeah,
and
it's not against the QPR players, like we're saying.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, I think QPR, I know their finances aren't good, but I think as far as the team goes, they were recovering a little bit from the mess they made in the Premier League. I'm saying a little bit in the sense that I know that, again, they've got financial problems and there was a threat of, I think they've got a transfer embargo, or they were close to it. I can't remember the exact ruling it was. But I think to myself, they've recovered well from that as well, just in the sense that they've managed to just get the odd players in who they can get and just push up the table. So as much as I don't rate him, I've got to praise McClaren for it, because I just don't know how he's done it. I'm actually quite baffled.
Well, we'll see how they play on Saturday, that's all we can do. And see where they take us. But, I mean, to be in 10th position, I think is good. I mean, we're in 14th.
Yeah.
And that's where we should be, if not higher. I'm so disappointed in the position we're in.
Yeah.
And to think that they are above us with him as manager, then it does turn you a bit sick, really.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going on about McClaren, and I am sorry about this, but I remember when we sacked Mark Hughes, and they were, you get the odds of who the next manager is, and I remember seeing Steve McClaren's name on the list, and I thought, he's probably the only manager who I would think, right, I don't know how I'm going to keep rooting for the side, in the sense of I don't know where the positives are. People went on about Paul Lambert's hiring, and I thought, well, at least he isn't Steve McClaren.
Yeah.
I've got to praise QPR supporters for keeping strong as far as that goes, because as soon as things go bad with McClaren, I don't know how they'll keep backing him, because surely there are a number like me that even while things are going well right now, surely they're just waiting for the change.
Yeah, they're waiting for something to happen, because it's got to.
He just has it
has credibility, isn't it? That's what happens with him.
I mean, it just makes me wonder if he's such a hot and cold manager, in the sense that, as I said, there were good spots on his CV, but there were also bad spots. I mean, I didn't mention his UEFA Cup win, I think, with Middlesbrough. Oh, sorry, not UEFA Cup win, the League Cup win. Sorry, I got the wrong competition then. But, it's like I say, he has had good records in the past, but when he's bad, he is bad. So maybe he's just actually found a good spot in his career again. But
I think he's got that syndrome, sad, that he doesn't like the winter. And this is where you could possibly see QPR miss out a bit. I think he likes the summer. I don't think he's a winter man. I mean, look how he put that umbrella up because it was raining. Have you ever seen anything like it in your life? Because I haven't. And standing there with a cup of tea. What a man. My goodness. Don't. You know, and that's why I think he has got this syndrome that in the winter he does bad. You know, he's one of them that I could, you know, see being in bed and saying, "Oh, I'm not getting up today, it's a bit cold."
You know, it's funny, I do actually remember when he was in charge of Derby County and they had a little dip around winter time as well, so it does add credibility to your idea there, I'll admit. But, I don't know, that really just got me, because, you know, it's not impossible, I'll say that.
Well, we'll see how it goes through the winter with them. I'll keep an eye on them, on their results, and just see if my sad
idea
comes true. Yeah.
I'm going to say it could be less of an acronym by the time winter comes around. I thought of that
just like that, you know. That just come to me.
I've got to admit, it was very smooth how you brought that in.
I was very quick there, really.
Well, we're nearly at the end of the vlog, so I'm wondering what your predictions are for the game.
2-1 Stoke.
Right, that is very optimistic. I'm going to say 2 goals for us, which is not happening a lot so far, and yeah, I'd rather not the 1 goal, but AO. I sort of set myself up for this earlier, and I'm going to stick with it, that I think we're going to have a 0-0. And I know there are people who have said, I think even the Sentinel has said, that we should be getting a goals and a winner against QPR, but I think again there's a bit where if it was a 0-0, I wouldn't panic as such. I wouldn't be happy, but I wouldn't panic. Just in the sense that I'm looking for January, to be honest. I'm waiting until the January window opens. We can strengthen the squad a little bit more at the back, and then hopefully that'll free the forward players.
But getting back to Saturday, I think if our defenders can keep tight on them 3 players, I think we've got a chance. But it's up to the defence on Saturday.
Well, I know Hemed and Wells from their time from Wells' time at Huddersfield and from Hemed's at Brighton, and they do seem like a little enlarged partnership of sorts. So not to the extent of, say, a Crouch Defoe, but you know, one's the bulky target man, one's the nippy little bugger. And you know, I do think to myself that could be a threat. You know, in the sense of we have got to. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't play Wells for that reason, just to try and get the better of our lack of mobility at the back. And for that reason alone, I think we're going to sit deep so that Wells hasn't got space to run in behind.
But I want to see every one of our players, when they've got the ball, every player marked.
That's what I'd hope for. I mean, Tom Edwards is... sorry, I haven't mentioned Tom Edwards in this video, but he has been a bright spot in the last couple of games.
Very good.
You know, I think since he took his chance at Bristol City, he hasn't looked back. And I've got nothing against Cuco Martina's efforts as such, but I still don't get why we signed him.
No.
And it's a case of you've got Tom Edwards doing so well, and it just raises that question mark again in the sense of why did we sign him?
Yeah, but I'm just hoping that Tom doesn't get dropped.
Yeah, if he got dropped, I think it'd be unjust at this point because, you know, he's done nothing wrong. He did fantastic against Borough, who I thought were going to give him a really tough game, but he was actually more of a threat to them than vice versa.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think if Tom gets dropped anywhere near now, it's going to be because he made one hell of a clanger and he's taken out the spotlight.
And sorry, can I just bring up Jack for England? I feel so sorry for the guy that he didn't get a chance to play for England against the USA. That would have been the time that they should have played Jack. Well, just to give him a chance.
I agree. I mean, the way I see it is, we've got Jack, Alex McCarthy, and I can't remember if it was the Fulham goalkeeper as well, Bettinelli in the squad as well. And you just look at it and you think, it would have been good to have given either Jack and McCarthy a game.
First half and second half,
Or even if they were going to just do it to try and give squad as much minutes as possible, why not give McCarthy a half and give Bettinelli an half?
Yeah.
You know, then Jack at least can say, well, I'm second choice. But
Yeah.
right now, Jack's sort of just watching on going,
Yeah.
okay, what have I done wrong here? So I feel sorry for him like you, but...
Yeah, I had to bring it up, folks. Sorry about that, disturbing Josh again. But I just did feel sorry for our Jack.
Well, it's a wrap anyway for this week, but thank you very much for listening. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you want to listen to more of the Stoke City Vlogcast, there's episodes on the channel. Other than that, all I can say is thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye for now, everyone.
Bye, folks, and don't forget your comments.